Hey guys, and welcome back to Contextual Electronics. My name is Chris Camel. Today we're going to be talking about the recently announced Digikey KiCad atomic libraries. This is an interesting development because this is actually a distributor making parts for an open source CAD program, which we love around here. And I wanted to show you how to use it because it's a nice resource. Actually, it's one of the things about KiCad that a lot of people complain about is you have to make a lot of your own components, or the components aren't necessarily in the library, or even when they are in the library, they're more generic type components and they're not tied to specific manufacturer part numbers or MPNs. In this case, since this is a distributor selling MPNs, right, then they usually tie it right together. And we'll show you even how it's a little bit different than how we normally do things as well. But let's talk a little bit about the announcement and everything else because, well, that's what we're here for. So this was the announcement a while ago. Digikey's been doing a couple thousand parts and stuff like that. And there's other things out there, right? So Digikey even offers Ultra Librarian, but now they're actually supporting this on a free community level, and that's really exciting here. And so what is the open parts library in the first place, right? So this is kind of the idea. It's this is actually defined by Seed Studio in the old days. And it's basically a set of standard components here. The idea being, well, there's only so many, base jelly bean components that you need, right? Capacitors, resistors, all that stuff. And if you really start to centralize those among not just within a company, but kind of on a community level, then you start to have a more standard set of components, and you can drop the cost for community builds. And so that's what Seed Studio started. Octopart took that up as a common parts library as well. And the really nice thing is that it just has multiple listings of part numbers, manufacturer part numbers for particular types, right? So there might be a 4.7 microfarad capacitor that's an 0805, right? But there's probably 20 vendors who make that. They list 3 of them, so you can quickly look up, oh, here's 3 different vendors you can use. But it's the base idea is this 4.7 microfarad 0805 capacitor is just a standard enough component that you don't need to think about it, right? And that's the idea. So now we also have that these kind of compliant parts within the Digikey library as well. So Digikey did that. They took that and they started putting it on their GitHub, and that's pretty cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and clone it, right? Now, if you're not a GitHub person or a Git person, that's fine. You can just go and download this and put it in your directory. The rest will be relevant from there. But I am going to show how to actually clone it as well. I'm going to copy here. And then what I'm going to do is open up my my Git, what do I call it? The Git command line, I suppose, and we'll start actually cloning it. So here's my command line. This is on Windows, so this is actually a separate command line tool you need to use. But on Linux and Mac, it just is kind of there. So anyways, I'm in my directory. I'm going to actually back out one directory. So now, usually you start in your home directory. I'm going to switch into, I actually created a PCBs directory where I actually copy all of my GitHub repos in here into different folders and stuff. So if I go into CE, you can see these are all of my contextual electronics repos here, right? So I'm going to back out here. And what I'm going to do is actually make a directory for libraries, right? So make directory libraries, and then switch into that directory. And now we should see it's empty. It is empty. And what I'm going to do now is git clone, and then right click. You see there's that URL that we copied, right? I'm just going to clone it into here. And and we're done. All right, so if I look in here, I can switch into this library. And you see there's a bunch of footprints, and there's a bunch of symbols, and then there's this document, the readme.md, which stands for Markdown. Okay, so let's go and add this into KiCad, right? So first things first, got to open up KiCad. So let's do that. Now, I will say that sometimes when you're playing around with libraries, the program's kind of loading it in the background often, and they are working on this in new versions of KiCad. But just gotta be patient. Sometimes there's lockups, sometimes there's other stuff, sometimes there's errors, right? So first thing we're gonna do here is go into component libraries, and you can see I've already done this once. But I'm gonna let's see if so it does have the old ones here. Okay, so I actually added these before. What I'm gonna do is go through and do it again though, because it did lock up for me. So I'm gonna go add. Right, and within this, so this is the actual library I was looking at here. I'm going to go back to PCBs. This is the directory where I clone that library, or you could drop your library. I'm going to go into the library folder, go into symbols, and then I'm going to select all of these. Right, now that's one way we can do it. And now you can see we've added all of these here. Well, we've added them twice actually. So I'm going to go and actually remove the first ones. So this is the old one here. We can just remove like that. That's great. And then the other thing we can do is we can do this on a search path library or search path basis, right? So if we actually look in here, right, we're in that that library folder. We can just say, hey, look in this symbols folder, and then anything new in here, it'll hopefully show up. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is actually go in here. I'm gonna hit A, and that loads up the libraries. You can see it's whoa. Oh, I guess I deleted the wrong ones. Well, we'll see if it has issues. It does have issues. Okay, one more time through. That's what happens when you delete the wrong ones. All right, so I'm going to remove all these. Remove. I'm going to hit add. I'm going to add them again. Shift to select all of them. Now I hit OK. And now when I load this, I hit A to load up all the libraries. You see it's basically searching through and trying to find all these libraries as I hit A to load this up. So it can't find the special library, but that's okay. But what we're going to do is here is go into one of these, right? So PMIC is Power Management IC. Voltage reference. Let's just grab one of these voltage references. Okay, and you see it has an actual, this is actually a Digikey part number, which is nice as well if you're using that service, right? So now you have this, you have this part number in here. I'm going to actually mouse over and hit E, and you see that there's actually all of this other info too that most of the time you don't actually have, right? So you have Digikey, datasheet link, Digikey data page as well. But here's the actually really interesting thing, right? Is that you have Digikey footprints SOT23-3. Now this is actually very different than most KiCad parts you'll ever deal with, because this is actually what it refers to as the atomic library. This singular part number, right? So this Digikey part number 296 blah 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 whatever, or really the manufacturer part number, now is tied. So this symbol that we're looking at right now is tied to the footprint. Now that's not actually a normal thing within KiCad. Usually you add a footprint like a generic 3-pin linear regulator, and you don't, you could have a footprint or a symbol that you add. You can name it whatever you want, ABC123, but there's no guarantee that it's linked to any particular part, a SOT23, a TO92, TO223, whatever. There's no real tying together, and in this case, the Digikey library is tied together. Now, this is actually how Eagle works. So if you're coming from Eagle, or if you prefer that method, I have a video as well about how to do the same thing of making atomic libraries. Some people like it. I personally don't, because it's a little bit higher stress when you're putting schematic with layout, because you actually have to associate and make sure everything's right. But I think from a management perspective, it's a little bit more difficult, right? Obviously, you see there's thousands and thousands of parts here, so it's a little bit more of a stressful management thing. Also, when I add a new part, I usually like to just add a generic part and then find it usually when I get into layout. So, it's really more about style, but this is an interesting resource for people that are, already using Digikey and or already using the open parts library. So all that stuff together is pretty interesting. So it is tied together. Let's go and actually add this library so we make sure that we have it here. So now what you'll notice is that this is a Digikey footprint SOT23-3, right? This is different than the SOT23 that's the native KiCad one. So got to keep that in mind here. Okay, so we've got that in here. We've got all the libraries in here. If we hit A at any point, we can go and grab one of the other Digikey libraries in here. I should also mention that in KiCad 5, some of this stuff will be changing. So this is for now, but there's a couple months before the 5 comes out. So this is recorded in February of 2018. So keep that in mind if you're watching this after that fact. Okay, enough of that stuff. Let's go over to the layout tool and actually add one of these libraries now. So here's my layout. Here's my layout. So what I'm going to do is actually just add one of these, because this is actually where it locked up last time. I'm just going to add one through the wizard, and then you can take this and run with it. So I'm going to the files on my computer. I'm going to go find these files. Now this is why I usually put this at a high level, like just a user folder, right? PCBs, libraries, Digikey, and then the footprints. And now within here, this is all the footprints. So we only have one library here, my bad. So that's why it probably locked up last time. You see now there's all of these different footprints in here. And actually the one that we were looking for is that one right there, right? You can't just add one footprint at a time. You actually have to add the entire library. So we'll see if this guy locks up again. No. All right, we might have to do this a different way. Let's try that one more time here. Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's try this one more time. We got the layout here. Let's go a little bit simpler. Let's not dive down into the library. I think I might have been having troubles loading up all those parts all at once. So I'm going to go down to here again. So users, Chris, PCBs, wherever you're storing your stuff, Digikey library. And what I'm going to do is just select this top level folder instead of unfolding it. Just select this top level folder. That is the one that I want. Okay, and I think this time it's not trying to look at all those different parts in there. All right, so it does recognize that it is a KiCad library, which is good. We're going to add this. Now, this is the thing I mentioned that is different normally. Usually I do to the current project only because it's when I'm adding a library, like I'm making a brand new footprint library. But now because this is something that I, in theory, would use for everything, I'm going to add to global library configuration. So now, well, let's actually just go back and actually push that part through the net list, right? So let's grab one of these parts here. All right, I'm going to, we can hook it in here. Make sure I don't save this project. So just put a diode in somewhere stupidly. Okay, so we've got that now. I'm going to generate a netlist. It's going to actually ask me to annotate as well, because that was a brand new part. See, now that's D1. Okay, so now I have a netlist. I'm going to go to my layout. I'm going to go, I'm going to read my netlist. And now you see there's a brand new part in here. And yeah, it is tied. It's not that part that I added before. This is a new part. And we see that we now have a brand new part in here that we can go and mess around with, right? So if we wanted to add a big diode here. Yeah, so I did have to restart there in the background one really quick. But yeah, I mean, you saw that happen. So we were able to go and add that. Now, if we want to see all the parts that are available within this library, we can actually do this manually. Now, this is never how you'd want to actually add a brand new part unless it's like a mechanical part. But we could go and look at the entire library as it happens here, right? So again, this is going to load in the background, and that's why it might crash on us. Hopefully not. Oh no! This one usually is not as bad. There it is. Okay. So now this is actually all the footprints that are loaded. And if we go down here, I think if we search Digikey, nope, maybe DK. Wow, that's going slow. DK. No, didn't like that one either. Okay, so it's just searching the part numbers here. We can actually go in through the Explorer here. And that's over here. And over here we should have, what was it under? Here we go, Digikey footprints. So now these are all the footprints that are in that library. So you see there's a lot of stuff in here, Bluetooth modules, stuff like that, cell modems, everything like that, right? So there really are a wide range of parts. This is all the stuff in the open parts library, which is now, if you go and start a brand new project, you should have that in there, right? And so that's really nice to have. Yeah, so if you have any questions, we're always available over on the KiCad forum. You saw that is where the announcement was. Well, not the announcement, but that's where people were talking about it. I think some of the Digikey people hang out on there, but this is a really nice addition, right? It's actually really encouraging that there's companies that are willing to participate like this. Hopefully there's more in the future, and that's a really positive sign. This is not this is an announcement. I thought it was an interesting idea to tie in just showing how to add it to your projects, but this is really just how you add libraries. So even if you were going to add a new, say you're on GitHub, you see a new library, you want to add it, this is a great way to do it. So if you have any questions about how to add libraries or how to use new parts or anything like that, there's always the KiCad forum. If you want to learn about electronics and how to, we use KiCad as part of it. Contextual Electronics is an online program where we teach you how to build electronics. You don't have to be anywhere. You can do it from the comfort of your own home, your own lab bench, and we can check that out here. One last thing I should announce here as well. We are supporting the KiCad project with some merch. So this is a shirt that I've done for a long time, the Never Trust an Auto Router. This is up. All proceeds from this are now going to KiCad, the KiCad project. Same thing with this hat. This has actually turned out really nice. And finally, the choose your side. If you don't know, a lot of people say it KiCad instead of KiCad. So yeah, I say KiCad, but everyone's free to do whatever they want here. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoy this new library and make some libraries of your own. Thanks for watching.